Hey guys, this is Justin with Palmetto State Armory, and today we're going to be going over how to install the Soviet Arms long rail. Now going through what comes in the package with your Soviet Arms long rail. It should come assembled, but just to do a double check, you should have the lower rail. The lower rail should have a handguard retention screw in the back. You should have an upper rail. You should have a handguard insert. It should be installed within the lower rail when you receive it. You should receive 6 large screws and then 2 small screws. And then, like I say, all this should be assembled when you get it, but just do a quick double check to make sure you have everything you need in order to install the rail. And then you're going to need a couple tools as well. You're going to need, we have a special tool for it, but you can use a flathead screwdriver as well, just to turn the handguard retainer. Then you're going to need a 3mm hex key, a 5/64 hex key, a hammer, and then a pair of Loctite. You want to make sure you're using the blue Loctite on this one and not the red. But that's all you need in order to install your rail. Now let's get into how to do it. Okay, so now we can move into installing the insert into the handguard. This insert serves to butt up against the handguard retainer in order to hold tension on the rail. So you're going to take your insert here. You just want to make sure that the 2 set screws are going towards the front of the rail. And then you're going to look at this slot right here, just to the rear of the handguard retainer slot where your sling loop would go. And you're going to set that straight down in there. And it's going to have some side-to-side play when it first goes in there. And you're just going to take your thumb. And you can tell it's properly installed when there is no side-to-side movement and it can freely slide back and forth. So now that we've installed the insert, we can go into fitting the handguard onto your rifle. So all you're going to do for that is you're going to grab your rifle. Your handguard retainer should be loose at this point. You're going to take your handguard and you want to line this notch up with the handguard retainer. And then once that's lined up, you can go ahead and put it into the slot in the front. Now at this point, if you had any up and down movement, you could back that rail out slightly and you'll see the small set screw right here. You could adjust that set screw up or down accordingly to take out the slop. And once you take out that slop, you would install a small amount of blue Loctite and just tighten that up and it'll stay. So you use that set screw to take out the slop up and down. And then here in a minute, we'll show you how to take out the front back slop. The next step right here is you'll take the insert and you'll push it forward with your fingers. And you just want to line that hole up with the small holes in the handguard. And once that is lined up, you'll take a screw and you'll get a small amount of blue Loctite and you'll just put a little dab on there. And then get it started with your fingers and finish it off with your 5/64 hex bit. And once you finish that, you can repeat that process on the other side, which I'll do off camera just to save some time. And now we can go into adjusting the front back slop out of the rail. So once you have the lower handguard installed to this point, you simply take your flathead, or if you have a special tool for it like we do, you can use it. You'll get under that latch, and what you'll find is you want to have tension at around the 90-degree point. If you have tension prior to the 90-degree point, it's going to be too tight, and you can go back, pull the lower handguard off and loosen up the set screws on the insert a little bit. Or if you have no tension at all, you want to go back and tighten those set screws on the insert. And then once you get to the 90-degree point, like I say, you should have some tension. You can just take a hammer and give it a few good hits and just make sure that that retaining latch is down and facing back towards the receiver. Again, those set screws on the insert, once you find your spot, you should put Loctite on those. And just keep in mind that this should have tension on it. You should have to use a hammer to get it down. But if it starts having too much tension before about the 90-degree point, it's too tight and you're going to want to back the set screws out a little bit. So now that we've done this, we can go into installing the upper handguard. So now that we've installed our lower handguard, we can install our gas tube and our top rail. So all you're going to do is take your gas tube, you're going to drop it into place and close the latch, lock the retainer, and then you can take your top rail. You want the angled side to the front of the rifle, and you're just going to make sure that these holes line up with the adjacent holes on the lower handguard. Once they do, you can push it down into place. Once you have those in place, you can take your bigger screws and you're going to want to apply a small dab of Loctite, and you can put just a small amount of Loctite on there, and then you can set that in there and take your 3mm hex bit and just tighten those down. So for sake of time, I'm not going to do all those on camera, but you have one back here in the rear, one in the middle, and one in the front, and then you have the same on the opposite side. So you want to apply Loctite to each of those screws and tighten them down. It's important to note on there that you want to let the Loctite set up for about 24 hours, and then you want to check the tightness after your first range trip. And once that is done, you have completely installed your Soviet Arms long handguard, and you are ready to go.